So without further ado, I would like to introduce Sarah Knowles, our champagne buyer. Hello, Sarah, and good evening.
Good afternoon, good evening, Anna. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I have to say that during the Wine Champs tastings, we often as buyers can see some of the wines that we know and love very well. And in the champagne tasting, because of all of the very distinct house styles, you can occasionally recognize one or two of the brands. But in the growers tasting, it's a wonderful experience for us all to really sort of see what's offering great value and what's looking super now. And I was really excited because actually I only discovered the wines from Louis Brochet quite recently, just at the end of sort of last year. And I started listing them towards the end of last year and into the new year. And so when the wine did particularly well in the Champs tastings blind, I was delighted. And this really is a very worthy winner. I hope some of you have a glass, and I hope some of you are tempted to buy a few bottles and have a glass after this session. Now, I'm really excited because Hélène introduced me to her wines back in January. In January, I only made one buying trip. I managed to make it to Champagne before lockdown cancelled all of our buying trips. And my afternoon with Hélène at the winery was fantastic. Not only did I get to know more about her wines and her style, but she really introduced me to her family. And I think that's what's special about small grower champagnes. So I'm really glad to have her with us tonight. Now, I should say that as a buyer, I have a significant flaw in that my language skills are just shockingly bad. And I'm, of course, trying to learn. And Hélène has very kindly said that she will practice her English for us tonight. But please bear with us. She's a winemaker first and foremost, and we're very, very proud that she's giving it a go. And we have Emma Briffett on hand, who is a much more skilled linguist than I, to help with translations if we need. But without further ado, I will introduce you to Hélène, and we'll kick off with a wonderful evening of champagne, a great aperitif to this Monday night. Hélène, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you very, very much, Anna. Sorry, so I'm not comfortable in English, so I will follow my notes. Thank you for your. Thank you for that. Thank you for your invitation. We are proud to be part of the 2020 Wine Champions. Thank you all for your attention today. I'm glad to be on this live with you, Sarah, and with the participants. We are happy to open this special week, but also a little bit stressed. So please be kind with my accent. Hello, I'm Hélène Brochet from Champagne Louis Brochet. I'm live from Écueil, where the Champagne Louis Brochet is located. I work here with my brother, Louis, and we represent the fourth generation of producer. Louis takes care of the technical part with the management of the vineyard and the production of our champagne. We work together to carry on the legacy of our family, while marking step by step our style to this house. For my part, I assure the development of our house by being quite everywhere at the same time. This is also that a family business. I work in our export markets and in France. I maintain commercial relationships with our distributor and suppliers. I'm also there to welcome our professional and retail customers who visit us here. I also want us to take a real place regarding wine tourism, and I'm currently developing a complete offer of visits and workshops. By the way, British visitors are more than welcome this summer. We will be delighted to welcome you. In the meantime, I'm also a mom, and like all moms in the world, I combine private and professional life. By this rhythm of life, my daughters and also Louis' daughters are very often here and are involved into the life of the company. Also, our mother is living here, so they are often with her, and it's 3 generations who are involving here. I'm proud that among them, we may one day have the succession of all the work that we undertake. Okay. I will give you a quick review of the history of our domain. We are a family of winemakers established in the region for several centuries. The oldest documents date from 1674, when the terroir was worked for the productions of wine. Our ancestor, Marie Arsène, a woman, already practiced in the 19th century the massale selection by painting the best Pinot Noir, and only the vinestock marked 3 consecutive years were selected to be then taken and grafted. Her son, Louis Brochet, marks a turning point in family history since he created his first label. It was then our grandfather, Henri Brochet and Yvonne Hervieux, who created and developed their brand Brochet Hervieux, joined by our parents, Alain and Brigitte Brochet, that we operated until 2011. We represent today with my brother Louis, the 4th generation, and we wanted to mark in our turn an evolution in the history of the house. We decided to take back the name of our great-grandfather Louis Brochet and his birthday, 1881, which was 100 years before the birth of my brother Louis. We are independent winemakers and harvesting handlers. We control all our production from the vine to the final bottle. We farm 13 hectares of vines spread over 50 plots on the soil of the Montage de Reims and the Vallée de l'Ardre, and we produce about 100,000 bottles every year. Our domain is located in Écueil, about 10 kilometers from Reims, and our plots are spread over different villages: Écueil, Villers-Hauneux, Branscourt, Trélon, and Mary-Préty. We have a majority of clay limestone soil. Even if the soil is quite varied due to the distribution of our plots. For several years, we have been working our vines and soils with committed and reasoned farming practices. We obtained the certification High Environmental Value and Sustainable Viticulture in Champagne, VDC, and HVE in French, in 2017. And we go further than the certification on certain points. For example, no chemical herbicide or fertilizer or insecticide. It is no longer used in the vines. Strong words. It's thanks to the blowing that we are now practicing with an electric tractor, in which we invested in 2019. This is a real revolution in the wine world, and sexual confusion has been practiced for 20 years. We cultivate 3 varieties to produce our champagnes. The Pinot Noir, which represents 80% of our vineyard and expresses our style in almost all our vintages. the Chardonnay, with which we have created a single layer cuvée, the Extra Blanc, and which we also use in the blending of our Alain vintage cuvée. And the Pinot Meunier, which is part of the blending of our Heritage collection, the Brut, Extra Brut, and Rosé. Now, we will begin the tasting, and I will take the bottle.
Hi, Ellen. I've joined you for the tasting. I hope everybody has a glass now, but really looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this, Helen. I've been enjoying
The same.
The same. You're much better than me. Opening champagne on live Zoom events is something that I decided I wouldn't do. I opened it in advance. Ah, the professional. Not even a noise. Wonderful. Cheers.
Cheers. The particularity of Champagne is the treasure that lies dormant in our wineries. These are the reserve wines. Each year, a part of the harvest is kept to form the reserve wine. Here at the Champagne Louis Brochet, we always have at least 2 previous years in pure vats. And in addition, the Solera, which contains our reserve wines since 2010. In general, our Brut is composed for half of reserve wines and for half of the wines of the base year. A strong dominant Pinot Noir, it is a family heritage that, blending with Chardonnay and Pinot Meunier, reflects our vineyard. This blend ensures a constant identity and style to this cuvée. This Brut 2017 is the expression of the vintage of the same year added to our reserve wines. It was bottled in April 2018 after 6 months of stabilization and then aged for 2 years in our cellars until its optimal tasting period. It consists of 55% of wine from the base year 2017 and is supplemented by 45% of reserve wines kept in thermoregulated vats or 300 liters oak barrels. These reserve wines include the years 2016 and 2015 in pure vats and the Solera since 2010. This blend brings a lot of complexity. Okay.
It's smelling fantastic, Helen. I think there's a few of us that may have the 2016 base, but I've tried both, and I have my notes from trying the 17 too, but I think I have the 16 here. And what's fantastic, I'm sure members might agree, is that the amount of information that you include on your back label. It's so frustrating when we can't find out easily which vintage it's based on or what the varietal blend is. So it's wonderful to see such a detailed back label.
Yes.
With all the information.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can. Yes,
Yes. It's fantastic.
Yes, you can read the percent of the year, the best year, the base year, the wine reserve, the date of the bottling, and the date and the dosage of for the disgorging for the.
Yes.
We
when I spoke to you, Helen, I think you mentioned that the dosage has been coming down over the years.
A little, yes. The comment on dit le goût, the taste of people in general change,
Yes.
are changing.
Yes.
For example, for this bottle, we are in the dosage was 10 years ago in about 12 grams.
Yes.
It was very
much more traditional. Yeah, very
yes,
common.
it was traditional. Yes.
Yeah, but I think you also mentioned that as the vineyards have been looked after in your less invasive way, in your more sustainable way, it's improved the ripeness of the grapes, and so you've been able to reduce some of the sugar as well. Sorry, Helen.
We change to the work in the vineyard, lots of and will change again. For example, this year we try to work in organic work. We try. Maybe the climate changes too. Maybe so we try step by step to change the work and with plowing and we our grandfather, our father were very invested in the vineyard, but it was their period. We are our period now, so we have to change now.
Yeah.
For the consumption of the champagne, but for our children.
Yes.
We have to change, yes, the work.
To look after the land for your children. It's wonderful to see the images of your girls in the vineyard.
Yes.
Children too.
The world are changing. With
Here to that.
Girls. Yes.
Oh yeah, what great photos. There's something to treasure.
Yes, and we have another brother. We are around. We are another. We have another brother. Yeah,
another brother.
Yes, a big brother, and he has two daughters. So.
Fantastic.
The change with the world with girls.
Yeah.
For
the
us.
Family parties at yours must be amazingly full of little girls.
Yes.
Hey-ho.
We are open. The door are open. So it's
yes.
You have. Okay.
So talking about the wine.
Yeah.
On the nose for me, there's a lovely Mirabelle plum flavor, like a plum Mirabelle flavor because of perhaps the Pinot Noir content.
Yes, and you yes, you said me that you have the base.
2016. Yes.
So,
yeah. And it's a lovely plum on the nose and maybe some flowers as well, like honeysuckle coming through.
Yes.
And a bit of that citrus rind, but that's mostly on the palate for me. Very
Yes.
bubbles.
It's due.
Integrated.
It's due to the wine of reserve. Of course, it's a wine, a complex wine, and
yes.
you can smell too in English quince.
Yes, quince.
Ouais, quince. Maybe oui, non, ben si c'est tout. For me, for the base 17, it's quince, apple, and pear.
Yes.
Maybe your champagne is more a little comment on dit, mature.
It's a little bit more mature, yes.
Yes, more mature. Yes.
The almond skins and slight brioche coming through. But I think the large inclusion of reserve wines, because nearly 50% is a lot of reserve wine, and it's really bringing the complexity and concentration to the palate here. The length is very long for a champagne. This is actually a long length.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yes, you.
Yes, the 2016 base is really singing at the moment. And that's the wine that we currently have in the warehouse. So for members listening, it's the 2016 base that will be coming. Although I have already tasted the 17 base that Hélène has mentioned, and I'm going to be reordering that for the next list. So we will be moving on to the other vintage soon as well. Now we should, I think, Hélène, move on to some questions. I wonder if Anna Spooner, you're about a few members' questions.
I am indeed, and I have to say I'm enjoying the 2016 base, and it's absolutely gorgeous. The thing that really did stand out for me as well was that length. I think a couple of members have commented as well, saying a seriously impressive length for champagne. So thank you, Hélène. And thank you for a lovely presentation. Your English was fantastic. So it was lovely. Thank you. So I'd like to start. We've had two members ask the same question. So David Moore and I think it was Maria, sorry, just asked as well. What food would you pair with your champagne?
Food. What food? C'est l'accord mes mains. Champagne is a wine of aperitif. Aperitif. But yes, you can associate it with alors scallop carpaccio, for example. Qu'est-ce qu'on avait noté aussi?
We have had one member, Stephen Connolly, who has made my personal favorite recommendation, which is, Hélène, I don't know whether you've ever tried fish and chips in England.
Yeah.
Battered white fish is the perfect combination with with lovely champagnes like this. So yeah, Stephen, I think that was a good choice.
You can drink and it's something simple. Comment on dit repas? Meal. Simple meal with cheese or fish and chips. This wine is easy to drink tout au long during all the meat, the lunch. Yes, the lunch.
Definitely enjoyed this wine with some great cheese selections. I think often we forget that champagne can so perfectly match cheese, and at the end of a big meal, sometimes it's nice to have something uplifting and light with the cheese courses. Something like a Comté or a goat's cheese goes so well, sort of cleaning the palate and sort of refreshing at the end of a meal. Mm-hmm. So I'm definitely a big fan there. I also think the fish and chips suggestion from a member is brilliant. I find that seafood or that particularly oily foods are very good with champagne, because the high acidity will really clean through and break down any of those flavors. So things like, you know, where we might typically match a sauterne with foie gras, it can also go very well with a champagne because of the acidity will do the same. So it's a lovely, a versatile wine that we often, as Hélène said, just
Comment on dit oysters? Oysters. Yes.
Yes. Yes. I like where your scallops and
yes,
where you're going.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Let's have that dinner sometime soon.
That sounds like a dinner I'd like to join with. Sarah, I've got a slightly more generic question, and perhaps if you're happy to answer, and if Hélène has anything to add. Chris Jeffries has asked what effect climate change has had on the region. And I wonder if, Sarah, you could start with some insights onto that.
So yes, I visit Champagne every year, and I think climate change, obviously it's not happening in the short term, it's happening over the long term. And what's really noticeable, perhaps in a region like Champagne, which has been quite marginal for wine grape production for a long period in its history, suddenly we're getting a more consistent ripeness. And I think that there are, or over the last 20 years, there have been more better years. So there have been a higher frequency of very good years than perhaps there were in the 20 years before that. I know that for a lot of people, they're finding that we touched on it very briefly with Hélène when I was in there in January, but along with vineyard management, which has had a big impact on the ripening of grapes, the weather too is having its impact on the ripening of grapes. And it means that sometimes less sugar is needed in the dosage. So there are some impacts there. I think also, Hélène may be able to confirm, but it would be hard to imagine that Champagne could have looked at organics 20 or 30 years ago when the weather was wetter and more cold. And so now, perhaps with better vineyard management and a slight change in the long-term weather patterns, there is an option for organics now within Champagne. But I think sort of when you sort of look at it all as one big piece, it's also easy to see some of the good bits, but of course climate change has negative impacts too, so it may change the seasonality of the rain. There have been some frosts that are perhaps occurring, or hailstone at unexpected times of year, and so it can be a quite complex issue across the region. Hélène, would you agree with some of those things?
Yes, you're right. the weather is maybe the most important element. The soil too, but it's the weather which is changing. So it's not bad for us, for the Champagne, because today we can make a Champagne more and more pure, more and more specific with the terroir, and we can work in function to the plot, and it's a great it's a big work, but it's a great work. We work all the days of our terroir, and we can answer of the demand of our terroir. We don't want we don't want dictate the work, but it's the plot and the soil and the weather which are the boss. So we are only workers, artisans. but it's not yes, it's not our father didn't knows to work, but it was a different mind today. Our father is not here today, and maybe he could say us what's happened. What's happened, but I think he is somewhere.
I think very clever for you to say that the weather and the soil are the boss.
Yes.
You are the workers of what you are given, and it's no doubt that the weather has changed for you. Perhaps not worse or better, but it sounds like just very different, and you have to change because of it. If you don't mind, we have a couple more questions, Hélène. One of them's about your Pinot Noir clone. So Phil Collins has asked, is the Pinot Noir d'Écueil a specific variety of Pinot Noir?
Est-ce que le
Pinot Noir d'Écueil est une variété spécifique du Pinot Noir?
Alors, yes, there is several answers because the expression of Pinot Noir made by the soil, and another answer, we have a selection of Pinot Noir d'Écueil. Today we want to we want to réintégrer, retake the pure Pinot Noir of Écueil. We had made a massale selection.
Massale selection.
Yes, Louis.
So that you can.
Yes,
so that you can keep the uniqueness of your clonal selection within your vineyards.
Yes, Sarah, would it be possible maybe to explain to members what massale selection or clonal selection is, for anyone who might not understand that?
Il faut que j'explique.
So without getting too geeky about it all, there's definitely a kind of there's an advantage, or many growers see the advantage when they're replanting to use a selection of vines from their existing vineyards that they know how they work and how they grow, and they're able to use that in the replanting of new sites or in the replacement of certain vineyards. The other option is always to buy in new clones, and you can then plant those in a different site or in a new site that you know you're buying a clone that will adapt to the certain terroir that you might have. So here in this example, the Pinot Noir that is in Hélène's sites are quite old and quite unique to those sites. And so being able to use massale selection is able to kind of keep that uniqueness.
And my understanding is as well that this is something that's very historic in Hélène's family, and that actually kind of goes back more than 200 years with the painting of the trunk story. So each year assessing which was the best trunk, and then after the trunk got three strikes, Hélène? Yeah, three good strikes. It was deemed a good sign.
She turned because before it was a little tree. The vineyard, vine, yes, was a little tree, and she turned around, and 1 year she looked each
she saw.
And after 3 years, she
pick the best ones.
Oh my God.
No, that's perfect. Thank you. It's quite a technical subject.
Yes, in English, yes. But today we don't turn around, but in parcel, we made this selection, and in maybe the next year we can replant this Pinot Noir of Écueil. Yes.
Fantastic, thank you. And I think it's, Sarah, one of the things that makes it so special as well, wouldn't you say? This
Absolutely, it's a historic practice that I think some of the best vineyards in the world have paid attention to which vines are doing the best each year, and made note of that, and then used that knowledge. It's wonderful to see.
Sarah, if it's all right, I have a question that's probably more suitable for yourself, but obviously Hélène is a grower producer of champagne. It's a double question really from an anonymous attendee. They're interested to know what proportion of the Champenoise are owner growers. And I would quite like to add on to that. Is it possible to sort of point out the differences between a large house and an owner grower like Hélène and her family?
Yeah,
I didn't.
Yeah, so oh, it's okay, Hélène, I think this one was for me.
Okay, for you.
So the difference between a small grower champagne house and a larger champagne house is a question of whether or not they own their own grapevines. So a grower owns the vines that they're making the champagne from, whereas many houses in Champagne buy grapes from different growers. And so that's the major difference. We sort of keep them separate within our list so that you can see who are the smaller family-owned properties that are also working the vineyards, and then the larger properties that buy grapes. Some of the larger properties also, of course, own some of their own vineyards, but they buy in additional grapes to make up the volume that they need, and potentially to get a variety of different grape varieties and different styles of wine so that they can make their blends. The percentage, I think, of small grower champagne relative to sort of champagne would be quite little. I'm sure Hélène might be able to correct me, but it's probably less than 5 or 10% of the champagne produced from the region is made by small growers. The bigger houses are substantially more well distributed. So people like Moet Chandon or Veuve Clicquot, Paul Roger, Louis Roederer, Deutz or Henriot would all be much bigger champagne producers. The small growers are really people like Gimonet or Pierre Paillard or Louis Brochet or Jeannot Robin, who we're working with, who are family owners who own their estate and make their wine. And usually you can see on the back of a bottle, it will say the letters RN, which indicates that it's a grower champagne within the legalities of the ownership of vineyards in Champagne. Now, Anna, I have to confess, I forgot the first part of your question because it started with something else.
The first part you've answered already. It was which proportion of the champagne was. Don't worry, you did it.
I knew it was a two-parter. I just hadn't picked up which bit I'd missed.
Lovely. Well, Hélène, I think that's probably all we've got time for this evening. If it's all right with you, do you have anything else you'd like to say, or perhaps would members be able to come and see you when we're allowed to come and visit Louis Brochet, or certainly is there anything you'd recommend they visit in Champagne?
Yeah. Il y avait trop de choses dans la phrase. It's a too long sentence.
Are members able to come and see Louis Brochet in Champagne?
Yeah. Yes, we are open, of course, and we want to develop the tourism. So welcome, welcome. Yeah. And during the harvest too, we try to not retry. We organize this day for in English day for harvest. One day in one day you can try to cut and we can
to work in the vine.
Yes. Well, so welcome, welcome Anna and Sarah again. With
I hope so. Because harvest will be starting towards the end of August, I guess.
Maybe the end or at the beginning
of September.
Yeah. Maybe before the 1st September, maybe.
I do hope we're back to normal by then. That would be wonderful to be able to be with you at that point. But for those members watching, in fact, Hélène is sitting in a beautiful visitors center that I saw. So it's definitely somewhere where I'm sure if you dropped an email through their website, which has all the contact information, it would be a great place to visit if you were visiting.
Thank you.
Say a huge thank you on behalf of everything you've done, Hélène, for tonight's tasting. I know that it was very nervous to do this in English, and I really appreciate it greatly. And we've really enjoyed having your wine listed with us over the last few months, and I look forward to tasting it each year with you when I hopefully am able to travel again. So thank you so much for coming tonight. Anna, thank you. The tastings team.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Hélène. And congratulations on being a wine champion.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you.
Well
Thank
deserved.
you.
Thank you. Cheers, everyone.
Bye-bye. Cheers.